Hello, JCam, Vapor, Falco. Hello, hello. If you want to, we could talk about the game last night if you want to, Falco. Man, it would have been amazing if that was a tie. The odds of that being a tie are just so astronomically improbable that as over time just got closer and closer and closer to reaching zero. It's like, oh, this is magic. What we could be seeing is something we will never see again in our life. And I gotta root for that. And part of you has to root for that too. As I mean, like, it in the grand scheme of things, it's not like either one of those teams is going to do anything. I mean, the Chargers should. Thank you for the follow, Isaac. The Chargers should have been more comfortably in the playoffs than what they ended up being, but still, it's like... it's like, it would have been a better story. You root for the better story, right? Like everything I do on the Popcast, I'm with competitive Splatoon, I'm always rooting for the better story because it's easier to talk about on the Popcast than not like creating a story, but than just like discussing a boring story. The better story is what you always want. And that game ending in a tie would have been the better story by far. It's just unfortunate. I mean, fortunate for you, but... I mean, just take a knee. And you just just take a knee and you let the Chargers come in too. Why not? Why even kick a field goal? Risk it being blocked and returned the other way? Let's take a knee and you make the playoffs. You're watching the Popcast taking a COVID test. Hope that works out for you. What is... Ah, there we go. I got this set up there. What's up, Toph? Bland white cube? cringe. American football. If you don't follow American football, you're missing out on one of life's greatest treasures. Watching grown men shorten their lives for our entertainment. Giving themselves serious chronic pain that's going to follow them for the rest of their lives. Turns out, after years of studying the human body, maybe battering our heads into each other for several years isn't the best way to go through life. Hello, Brush. Texting and driving. A couple of people said they've listened to me in the car, and I've had somebody send me a video once of somebody listening to me on their car radio, which I guess isn't that. I guess that is possible to do. Not the like fake one that the Wiggly Phantoms made, but like an actual. Listen to me in the car all the time. What is C-Bus? Did I just walk into another Bofa joke? Oh. Okay, fair enough. Now, there is a Columbus, Indiana, that's just very close to Indianapolis, but I never really go there. But I never call it C-Bus for that. I've been in San Francisco, and I know people don't like it when you say San Fran there, so I didn't know if Columbus is the same. No, don't call it C-Bus, we're Columbus. I was like, all right. I've learned better than to give out nicknames to cities. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, well, you're trying to convince your scrim partner to use Splat Zone's Black Belly this week, wondering when the Low Ink will post their map pool, like you can't already guess what the map pool is likely going to be. Losing years off of your life watching the Raiders versus Chargers game as a Steelers fan, whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I said last episode that I would start off this episode with a retraction if I could find some public information about low tide cities' health and safety COVID policy stuff. Because as I pointed out with everything I could find last week, there wasn't any. Turns out there is some slight public information, and I'm going to, in all fairness, show that off now. So let's go to this thing right here. So when you check out, and I wanted to do this on my own, but I didn't want to have to like go through and actually put in all my information to get to this page. But when you get to this page, and this is kind of blocked by my chat, but just trust me, this is you have to check the boxes kind of thing, right? To be like, oh, I acknowledge that I did all this stuff, and I'm agreeing to give you my money and all that stuff. A few things you got to check off here. First off, by checking this box, I understand that masks must be worn at all times within the convention center. Okay, so you have to like verbally, or not verbally, but you have to at least acknowledge that you have read that. And you also have to agree to abide by the Low Tide City Attendee Agreement. And this is something you're going to click without actually reading it, because that's how these things work. But if you did actually read it, it does say, that's the wrong thing here. All attendees must be fully vaccinated for COVID-19. What is fully vaccinated? Does that include the booster? I don't know. To be fair, I haven't looked over the entire user agreement or whatever that this is, so maybe that includes that. But here's at least a screenshot. It at least says somewhere that you have to have a mask and be vaccinated. Again, everything I said last week. Why is this not on the front page of the doggone website when they had it last time is beyond me. And another thing I do want to point out, because I've raised a lot of concern, Texas has a lot of jank stuff that I don't really know about. Information that was sent to me, Executive Order GA-35 in Texas only prohibits state agencies, political subsidies, and public or private government supported functions from allowing vaccine passports. Thus, a private event such as LTC can elect to prohibit people from entry on any grounds, including vaccination status, to my understanding. That is what a source sent to me. So there you go. These people are running a super spreader event, potentially. And the information still hit. It's there, and I guarantee you somebody is going to show up unvaccinated and be like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to be vaccinated. Well, you checked this box that you said you did. But, man, I don't know. But look, in all fairness, I said I would at least explain it if it happened, and I saw some information. So there you go. I did my part. Good journalistic approach there. News of some tournaments coming up that may interest the casual listener of the podcast, although I understand there are a lot of people watching this episode that are banned from pretty much all these tournaments. Welcome. Good to have you here. LSL is 17 is this Sunday, not the LSL that was going to take place in December. This is the normal person LSL take place this upcoming Sunday. The tournament taking place this upcoming Saturday. I probably should have done this in order. SAC. I'm calling out some people here in SAC as I'm looking at some teams that have registered for this, and it's a lot of low ink eligible teams, which is good. That's great. One of them is going to win it at this point unless more +3 teams start signing up. Destiny Troops is there. I saw Campfire. I saw Tukey. I think some form of Micklin Heroes is trying to sign up. I think I saw them put in an exemption request. So that, and there might be some other like name brand Div 2-ish +3 team I see signing up that hasn't signed up for it just yet. But still, the target audience for this has not signed up yet. And if you guys don't, I don't want to hear any biatchin going forward about mid-level not getting any scenes or any tournaments. You got one now. Sign up for it or shut up. Mid-level, I don't want to hear you guys anymore. Low Ink is next week. Next weekend. And then the Battle of the Blushes is the Sunday after that. Today, we are going to be talking about the Reddit tournament, which I'm sure is something all of you paid attention to last week. Or last weekend. We're going to be talking in depth about that coming forward, as well as everything that took place in the last weekend as well. All the good stuff in the weekly recap. But first, welcome in to the Popcast.
Hello? Sorry, is it working?
Yeah, everything's working.
Awesome.
We hear you. You are live. You are on the podcast. Shak of FT Win. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I sadly woke up a pretty short while ago, but we're doing well.
You know, I've had K-Bot on twice. I've had Emil on before. I've had the Barry. But this is just your first time being on it, and it's episode 94. What took 94 episodes for you to want to come onto the podcast?
I always wanted to do like a podcast thing. Like I would watch other people do podcasts and I'd be like, this is pretty cool. But then I'm also really lazy and I know podcasts take like a lot of work. So I'm like, instead of making my own, why don't I just join everyone else's? And then I made that tweet that one night and then now we're here.
There we go. Hey, ask and you shall receive. Are you like, yeah, because you were on Negas's Corner last week or on Friday, and I listened to all of that. Obviously, you're here now. Are you like running for office or something? Like, just trying to drum up support for something here?
No, I was actually just bored, so I don't know. I just wanted to be on a podcast to talk about stuff because I just like talking about the game, actually.
Did you watch any of the Reddit tournament yesterday?
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. I was watching what's it called? Yeah, I basically watched the competitive one. I didn't watch the casual one that much though, which was on Saturday, I think.
Any initial thoughts on it? I'm going to talk about it next segment, but I would say I like that Jackpot has improved a lot. Obviously how they beat Kings is, it is what it is with the DCs and all that stuff. But do you look at it from a how interested were you when you were watching that and saying, well, I want Cows to win because some of my members are on that team, or I want Jackpot to be good so that the thing's more interesting?
I think like first and foremost I'll always be like rooting because like the guys there like on that team are like all my really good friends from Cows. I'm still like pretty good friends with like Leafy from Jackpot. a legend as well. But like, I gotta support my teammates at the end of the day. I was hoping for it to be a bit closer. Like it was 4-2, which wasn't bad, but like the last game was like I kind of like a curb stomp in that, and like if like so to speak. Um, but like I think it was pretty good overall. Like I think it's safe to say like Jackpot like can definitely compete with like the Starburst FT1 like pickups and even the teams themselves.
You know, speaking of the Starburst FT Win pickups, it seems like if there isn't a Starburst or FT Win team in a tournament that has a prize pool, they're just going to kind of combine and just stomp the whole thing unless the Kings show up. Um, like Backpink was a team for a little bit, and
Mhm.
now the Cows. But when FT Win's actually playing, like is it important for you after everything that happened last year, because you played Starburst a lot, maybe not you specifically because you were
Mhm.
banned from a lot of the things that were going on, but from like the audience perspective, we want to see more FT Win and Starburst. And Riptide, you weren't there. The Nintendo tournament, you weren't there. Plus, you had to counterpick Turf War at some point.
Mhm.
Launch Day was a gimmick tournament. Like, is it important for you or FT Win to play Starburst soon in a no restriction tournament? Like, play that team specifically.
I don't know about soon. We definitely like have a rivalry with Starburst. Like all of the guys on that team, like I'm close with them. They're my friends and everything. But like I'm competitive. I want to beat them really badly. Um, the only thing is like whether it's like soon or like immediately, I guess that doesn't really matter to me. A lot of us like don't have as much motivation from before. That's mainly why typically there's like a FT1 Starburst pickup in like most of these like tournaments with like prize pools because like Jared or something from time to time won't be like able to play because he's doing his own thing, or like Ant won't be there, and it kind of goes the same thing for us for FD Win. Like I might not be down to play, or like Kyo doesn't want to because they're doing something else and they're just busy. I definitely want to play them, um, but I want to play them when like both teams are like grinding the game a lot, and I know that's not really happening right now. Starburst is doing Ludi, but they're playing with Bagel and Biscuit, so like that's kind of the same thing again. Uh, I don't know when there'll be something where we're both like really playing and practicing hard for, but whenever that is, like yeah, I definitely want to play them and beat them.
Well, yeah, Starburst technically doing Ludi, but I mean, are they? It's not like anybody's challenging them. It's just more like they're just kind of there to have fun and just
Mhm.
see who wants to try to like take a game or two off of us. Well, what motivates you? I guess to grind the game. Is it a big tournament coming up that would get you excited, or is there just like a lack of anything in the scene right now that just kind of kills motivation?
I, honestly, I think it might be like a combination of a lack of competition in a sense, and then like I guess there aren't as many like major tournaments as before. I kind of talked about it on Negas's podcast, but like
Right.
um it just feels like like the game's been out for like 4 years now, about um and I guess like over like the past 4 years, like playing in so many different tournaments, I don't know, this sounds maybe messed up. I don't know. It's hard to get me excited, I guess, for a tournament. I really liked Tassel, um, as an example. Um, and that's something like we all practiced really hard for. And then immediately after Tassel was Nine's major tournament that they hosted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that once again like everyone was practicing really hard for. But then after that, there were gonna be other tournaments, like major tournaments. They were in the making that I knew about. But kind of like the European teams were starting to die out. Like Radiance wasn't really playing anymore. Freeze also kind of stopped playing, and then Rift also kind of stopped playing. So then like after that happened, like I knew a bunch of tournaments that were going to happen kind of didn't, and then ever since then, I don't know. It just feels like there hasn't been really much to like get people excited, or I guess like the top players excited that well. There was super jump, but besides that, like there wasn't really anything else really.
Do you feel like from my perspective, just like the spectator, it feels
Mhm.
like there's more parity now at the top than what there has been in the past couple of years. For like you guys for like a year and a half just kind of had a stranglehold of every single tournament. It got to the point to where if you guys dropped a game, it was a party on
Yeah.
Twitter. Um, but now I feel like that's why Starburst rising up has been a big deal.
Mhm.
Obviously, Jackpot has really kind of captured a lot of people's attention. And Kings yesterday, even though they lost because of the DC to Jackpot, they looked really vulnerable against other teams as well. Like Polar Knight took them to a game five, Friends took
Mhm.
them to a game five. Um, like, does it, from your perspective, does it feel like there's more parity at the top now than what there was before?
I definitely think so, yeah. Like especially with Starburst, like I remember a long time ago when like people would consider like Europe as like the best region like in the West. Everyone would say it's like Europe and then FTN and then there's no one else. But now it's kind of like the opposite. Like you have like the entirety of NA at the top, like Starburst, FTN, Jackpot. Um, and then yeah, there's like Kings too. I'd say yeah, definitely a lot more competition for the top spots, which I think is good because it makes like tournaments more exciting. And yeah, I'm sure like back when like we were kind of winning everything or like top placing, like top twoing everything, it was probably kind of boring for like a
Well,
lot of people.
it wasn't boring for you, I would assume.
No, yeah, like I like obviously like I want to win everything, but I remember like people would be like, "Oh, like FT wins playing, it's lame. They're gonna win," and I was like, "Oh, okay, damn." It's tough, but yeah, I like the competition too because like it makes me want to win even more. Like if I know there's a good team like Starburst or Jackpot or Kings, like I want to win, so it makes it better for me. Like if I do win because it's like a huge like motivation boost, I guess.
If there hasn't been a lot of majors recently, yes, you kind of mentioned Super Jump, and after that, it's been kind of mostly dead, except for this rise of gimmick tournaments that we've been seeing a lot
Yeah.
lately, that have these big prize pools that will draw out like the high level teams to play in it. Uh,
Mhm.
the shopping spree tournament, the launch day tournament, the new one that's coming out some point this month by Beta, that kind of limits KGAL and missiles and amongst other things. Uh, but again, those tournaments have prize money, so it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really matter what the rule is. It's going to draw out teams. Do
Yeah.
you like these kind of gimmick tournaments that try to like cure these people that hate the meta so much, or would you rather just see more traditional tournaments?
I think for me, personally, I probably prefer more traditional tournaments. I do like gimmick tournaments. I think they're fun. Um, but I don't think they solve um the situation for people who dislike the meta. Because like for example, in launch day, missiles were absolutely broken. We played humpback zones against like a King's pickup or something, and their jet scorcher got like 15 missiles in the 5 minute game, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like extremely tough to deal with. Like it was basically like as terrible. Like people complain about the current meta. It felt way worse than the current meta. Like playing against like the 15 missiles in a 5 minute match. It was actually so tough. I don't think it'll solve the problem of like the meta for a lot of people and how they think it'll solve it. But I think there's just gonna be like because of how the game's progressed, like something else is just gonna take over with this gimmick tournament that'll be just as bad or whatever. Um, I think they're fun though, definitely, and I don't mind them. But I do want a major because like a gimmick tournament, like I want to play it because yeah, I want to win. Um, but it doesn't feel as good winning a gimmick tournament as it does to feel like a proper major,
You
because like
know,
people are restricted.
I was going to bring up that launch day thing because yeah, it became a all you could missile buffet at some point.
Yeah.
There testing grounds did a tournament where they banned armor, and this team didn't win, but they went really far. They just used double Sea Jet because it's like, oh well, you don't have armor to stop our stingray, so we're just going to stingray you
Yeah.
to death. So
Hmm.
it seems like you mentioned, the intent is to change, get people away from the meta. But if you're trying to win prize money, you're going to do the best possible strat to win
Yeah.
the thing, which might not be the most fun thing to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Uh,
it's a given, pretty much. Yeah.
uh, Now it's not. I listened to your, obviously, like I said, you were on Negas's corner. One of the
Mhm.
things you guys kind of talked about was IPL being the only one trying to do things for high level. Um, and I saw this conversation yesterday or last week on Twitter where somebody was saying a high level tournament doesn't have to have a prize pool. Is that's that's not true, is it?
Honestly, when I think about it, there could be some merit to it. Like if K-Bot came to me randomly and was like, "Hey, we want to do a tassel," um, but like there wasn't any mention of any prize pool, and we asked, and they're like, "Well, at the moment, we don't have anything." I think I would want to play in it. I don't know. Tassel is like something different. Like you definitely need like production. Like the reason I would want to play in like a tassel is because like you get like the stories hyped up throughout the season, and then you have the whole what's it called, like the playoff season, and you get to find out who's the best team. Like I want to be the best team, and so because of like Tassa's production, I would want to play. Um, so like I guess in that sense, yeah, the prize pool doesn't matter technically because it's like the tournament to f figure out who's the best, like concretely, um, which I really like. But besides Tassel, yeah, I mean like. At this point, I think the players like we've gone from most of the players on the top teams now, like we've gone from playing Splatoon 1 where there were no prize pools and then into Splatoon 2 where there were more prize pools and then like Ice for example has been at the top since the beginning. I like kind of got to the top at the beginning of Splatoon 2. Ice was winning things at the beginning of Splatoon 1, so like 2 years more than me. I'm sure like he himself is like just bored of playing like the random tournament or like even if it's like considered a major, like if there's no money, like for him he might consider it a waste of time. He's been winning for 6 years, right? So I think primarily money, yeah, you kind of need a prize pool to get the top teams in, but like there are some exceptions for like example Tassel where you might not need something like a prize pool to get people to participate.
I just kind of thought about this the other day. It's not just IPL that's doing like major tournaments. I mean, obviously there's Dapple Productions that does some tournaments as well, but Nintendo is kind of another organization that
Hmm.
runs
That's
tournaments
true.
that appeal to a lot of people. And you kind of talk about like the motivation, how like like you've been on a grand stage playing against the GG boys, like the Japanese team, one of the best teams ever. You won a trip to Japan that you didn't actually go to. So yeah, I guess I can see in comparison to that other things might not be as exciting. But what is it like being a part of those Nintendo tournament? I know you couldn't play in the one last time. I think it's because the prizes distribution would have been kind of weird
Yeah,
for them or something like that. But
yeah.
it seems like at least with the recent tournaments, Nintendo kind of just makes up things as they go along and doesn't really tell anyone about it. Like from your perspective, is that kind of been the case? Like, how did FT Win find out, or not FT Win find out, that there was going to be a Final Four tournament last year?
W- We had no idea. I woke up randomly one day and I see Kyo freaking out in our Discord server because I remember after they won one of the I don't remember what it was called. There were like four different events for uh the four modes that they did tournaments the Nintendo did tournaments for in the summer. They won like the Splat Zones one I think, and like randomly I think a month and a half, 2 months later, Kyo's freaking out on our Discord server at like 9 a.m. in the morning because they just announced on Twitter that there would be like a top four thing. Nobody got an email. They found out by Twitter first. Uh, like it was like really weird. We were like, why would they not email you? Like I asked him, I was like, why are you freaking out? Didn't they email you? And he's like, no, I did not know about this and I don't want to play in it. I remember he was really upset because he just wanted to play like Valorant or something and he wanted to take a break from the game. And then I was like, okay, this tournament was randomly announced on Twitter out of nowhere. And now he's like, I have to play for it because I want to win because he wants to win everything. So like we were all very surprised.
Well, I mean, you would have to play for it, right? I mean,
Yeah, like
not just the prize, but it's also like, hey, all the winners are playing in it, and you guys are the winners of one of the tournaments, and you're like, what? How do you know I'm even available that day?
yeah, yeah, like yeah, they didn't ask anything. They posted it on Twitter and they didn't even ask us if it was like a good day or anything like that. Like I don't understand that at all. There's no scheduling. It makes no sense at all. I don't know. I think maybe one of like some Nintendo executive just got the idea to do it and they're like, yeah, that's cool.
Mm.
And then they're just, I don't know. I have no clue. It makes no sense to me.
Has there ever been any kind of dialogue that you or anybody with FT1 has had with Nintendo where they've like wanted your feedback on things, as far as like tournaments are concerned or anything like that?
Oh yeah, like after like pretty much every North American championship, they always give like a feedback form that they ask us to fill out. How was the tournament ran? Like how were the prizes? Would you have like better prizes? For example, what kind of prizes? All right, like and they would give like boxes like money, uh, what's it called? Like gaming gear or whatever. It was like an option. I'm pretty sure like different types of games or something like that. Um, like apparel or whatever, like Nintendo exclusive like merchandise, stuff like that. So. I guess like for the longest time, for the first I think six North American championships, we kept filling them out, and nothing changed in the prizes. It was always arms. I mean, sometimes they had like the trip to Japan, um, and I mean, I think the trip to Japan was the only other deviation because I have like three arms codes,
That was
um, and then a trip to Japan that got canceled. And then, yeah, like they had never really taken I guess, the feedback until I think the last one, where they actually gave some like really, and like in my opinion, like the prizes are really cool. Um, so I think they definitely listened. I don't know why I took like five feedback forms, but I mean it works out, I guess, at the end of the day.
yeah. I mean, you can appreciate like you can see the effort they're trying to
Uh-huh.
make.
Yeah.
But and also like with every step forward they take, it seems like they're taking one back. Like now
Yeah.
it's not North America anymore, it's United States because of the prizes. Europe,
hmm
it seems like they forgot Europe even existed.
Yeah.
They've never done anything for South America, and there's a huge
Uh-huh.
Splatoon South American scene. So it's weird. Um, have you ever played ARMS? Is it any good?
Never played it. I have three download codes. I've been trying to give it away. The only person that's willing to take it is Legend from not Starburst, from what's it called? Jackpot.
Mm.
And I swear he's messing with me because he'll be like, Shaq, I really want arms. And I try and give it to him, and I'm like, you have to make a Canadian like eShop account to download it because it's a Canadian code. And then he'll like go on like this hour long like mission with me, like asking me how to do it, and then eventually giving up. And then later he'll complain that I haven't given him arms and everything. And it's just like I have three codes. I don't think I'm gonna download it because everyone that I talk to that's played it says that it gets really boring really quickly.
Well, I mean, you have that's your trophy. You realize that,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
that digital code is your trophy for the tournament. So you can't just give it away.
that's true. That's
That's
true. I should frame them or
you
something.
take a screenshot of it and frame it. Yeah. True. Um, shifting. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the plus servers
Mhm.
that are in conversation on Twitter every single month when
Yeah.
the new list of them comes out and whatever. I really liked what you had to say about this on Negus's podcast. You were talking about how plus one, if you got rid of plus one, it's just going to come back in a private way. It's not like people
Yeah.
wanting to scrim with other people their skill level is a bizarre idea. But it's trickled down to plus two and it's plus three And by golly, at some point we're going to get a +4 if midpoint doesn't work out or Ink Odyssey or whatever. What are your thoughts in general just on plus servers? Are they a good thing for the scene now that they're more public and people are like striving for them, or are they just more of like a gatekeeping kind of thing?
I think I think overall it's a good thing. Um, Before it used to be a private server completely. Only the top players knew about it because it was just plus one. That was it. It wasn't like this super like intricate like server that had like a website and everything that like goes along with like voting and everything. We would just vote via like Google Doc forms. We tried Discord emoji voting, but then we realized that people would see someone downvote them, and then they would downvote that person who downvoted them. So it was like a big issue. Um, but ever since it's become public, like I'd say like um I guess I'd say like since it's become public, it's kind of like ruined it in a sense. But then you mentioned that it kind of gives something for people to strive for. Um, and I think that in itself is really good because I guess with the lack of like majors per se, um, it's like a good thing to strive for. But I think people put too much emphasis on plus server equating all of your skill and not like nothing else is really important. And I think that's where we kind of have a problem. Because before in plus one, like when it was private and everything, nobody really cared about it. Like it wasn't like a super big thing. It was just a server where we could practice. That was it. People only want to get in so that they could bring their team into practice. Like for example, Kara, he literally wanted to get in just to bring his team Prophecy in so that they could get better scrims. And I think like as an example, like when Kara joined the server, he has significantly improved. Another example that's more recent is Leafy. Leafy was not as good as she is now, and there's definitely been like insane improvement both with like the team jackpot and just like her individual skill from playing a bunch of pickups from the plus server. Like there's definitely improvement and it's definitely helping people improve. But then there's like the downside of I don't think this is as prevalent in like the plus one section, but like in the plus two, plus three section, I think people are voting, I don't know, based on like friend groups maybe or something, and I don't think much can be done. I think it's just the mentality of the players, but I do think it's like quite a bit big downside of it. But like I said, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it because I think like I said, if you get rid of the server, someone else is gonna make it, just for the top players. Um, the plus two people are gonna make their own thing. The plus three people are probably gonna make their own thing, and it's gonna have the same issues as it does now. I don't see any way of fixing it, but like I'd say overall in the grand scheme of things, it is a net positive. It's just like unfortunate with like the issues that it has going on, I guess.
What I like about the plus server, specifically more in +3 and +2, is that it gives you an incentive to play a weekly tournament that doesn't
Hmm.
have a prize pool. You're not playing for like a $40 art prize or something like that. You're
Yeah.
playing for votes,
Oh
essentially.
yeah.
So that, as somebody who is a part of an organization that runs weeklies, that I feel like that's a big plus. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. That a lot of people are complaining that it's just fringe groups and inner circles that just kind of, let's just +2 each other and downvote everybody we don't like or we disagree with, regardless of skill level or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, should, if the focus, if your focus as a competitive player isn't to get into a plus server, like, what do you think you should be striving for? Just like getting with a team and trying to just like improve a looty div or something? Because like we need something to justify how good we are to compare ourselves with each other.
Yeah, I understand that. Honestly, I, like I don't know. I feel like back in Splatoon 1, I'm just going to Splatoon 1 because back then we didn't have like I don't think there was actually like a server like that. I mean, there was probably like a private server for like the best teams. I'm pretty sure. But like it wasn't like a known thing. Um, People just played tournaments just to get the tournament results. Uh, Most of the time, like before Coliseum and uh the Plus server became a thing, if someone played like the Splatoon Community League number like 38. They got 17th place, and then the next week they played it again, and they got like 15 or something, or like 13th. Like people would just go off that for improvement. I'd say like it it might be a bit different now, but I still think we can use just like those normal weekly tournaments as I guess what's it called, like ways to judge relative skill. Like Ludi is probably better, to be frank, and I think Ludi is actually like fine to judge skill um up to a certain point. I just don't think we should rely on the plus server to judge it all. It's hard. Like I'm not a tournament organizer, and I guess it's different for me because like playing at top level is different than being like the mid level or like the lower level. Um, and so I understand it's harder to gauge skill. Um, because a lot of people put so much emphasis on the plus server, but I think there are other ways that we can gauge skill. Like for example, I think Midland Heroes. I'm only using them as an example because I played against them once in a scrim because they won a tournament. Um, where they got to like play against. You get to choose like which top team you want to play against. There's like freeze,
Midway.
after you win. Yeah, Midway. I don't know who the other two teams were. There are two more teams that you could choose to play against. Um, we scrimmed against them. And we gave them some tips and some feedback. And then they told us that they had improved because they were doing better in a tournament that they usually didn't place that well in. Um, so I think like if we just go off tournament results alone, like I think it's a good way to gauge like relative skill. But like I understand also people like kind of just focusing on the plus server because like it's like a whole thing where everyone kind of just only cares about it. But I think tournament results are a good way, and then yeah, Ludi is another good way.
If you're just joining us, we are talking with Shak or Five Hack on Twitter here. Um, since this is traditionally this started off as a low level podcast because the low level scene is vast and nobody was
Yeah.
really talking about what was going on low level, and it's that's just been why I've been so able to do 94 episodes now. So if uh and you are obviously a very accomplished player in
Thank you.
competitive Splatoon. Could you give what would be the number one advice you could give to a low ink team that they could use to improve themselves in competitive?
I think the best advice, and it's not really like weapon comps or anything like that. I think the best advice is just making sure. I say this all the time. I'm probably sounding like a broken record at this point for some people, but I think just making sure everyone on the team has like the same goals. I think that's really important because like Ludi, for example, is like called the team killer. Every team disbands when they play Ludi or whatever is like the joke, right? And I think that's a result of people not understanding what their teammates really want out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what the people are playing for. Some people are playing for fun. Um, some people are playing competitively, but they don't want to go like they don't want to drop their weapons to like play competitively. There are people like that, and there's some people who are willing to play whatever is good because they're like super into competitive stuff like that, or they want to try and win like at the quickest way possible, right? And I think it's important to like have like a talk with like whoever you're gonna make a team with to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Because for example, like we were FDWin used to have Ice on the team. Ice left the team because the way we play is if something is meta, we're gonna drop whatever we're good at to play it because it's known to be good and it's known to work. Starburst is different. That's why I made it. They will play more niche stuff. They'll build comps around it, which is totally doable. It's harder and it takes a lot more time, but it's completely doable and it's respectable. And that's why he left and he made Starburst because we had that difference in like viewpoints, right? Um, and I think it's just important to make sure that all your teammates are on the same page, like with what you want, because it can cause a lot of conflict, and that's how like teams die. And so I think making sure everyone is on the same page is like the most important thing for a competitive team.
Yeah, the Ludi being the team killer thing, I've never bought into that mindset because it's no, that just proves you didn't have a team to begin with.
Yeah.
If Ludi's not the problem here,
Mhm.
it's the scapegoat of what you're thinking. My team has gotten their ass beaten backwards in several different Ludis, and we're still kicking, so it can be all
Mhm.
right. What is Splatoon? What is competitive Splatoon's fixation with Valorant? What, like, everyone seems to be talking about Valorant.
I don't know. It's a fun game. I don't know. I like playing it with my friends, with FT1. I honestly don't know. Maybe the fixation is that, oh, look at everything that Riot does for their Valorant community. Maybe Nintendo will do this for us one day, which probably is never going to happen. Um, I mean, they're doing like quite a lot of stuff like Nintendo for the Splatoon scene, but I don't think it'll ever reach Valorant standards, like obviously. Um, it's just a fun game. Like it's like CS:GO, but you have like ultimates and like you have like a bunch of like quote unquote powers. I guess I don't know how to like explain it properly. Um, but I don't know. It's like a fun game, colorful. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I just whenever there is a Valorant tournament, I just see so many competitive players just tweeting about it.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a low ink, you'll see low ink kind of dominate Twitter, at least with the people I
Uh,
follow.
yeah.
And there was
Mhm.
a day where it's like 50% people freaking out about low ink, and then everyone else is just talking about Valorant, and it's like, oh, okay. So,
I
uh,
don't know.
go ahead and plug yourself because I don't think a lot of people know who you are. Like, where can people find you?
Okay, so it's 5HAK underscore on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm not really anywhere else. I don't think there is anywhere else to be. Um, I mean, that's pretty much it. I stream solo queue from time to time on Twitch. Sometimes I'll upload a video on YouTube of something stupid happening from my Twitch stream. And on Twitter, I just post random stuff because I'm bored. Um, there's not too much to gain, but if sometimes I'll tweet about my opinions and stuff. So if you want to see that, um, you can follow me there. Not much else besides that.
And if I can give you some unsolicited advice, if you want to do some podcasts, just do it. Just do one episode. You could be like you said you were too lazy to do it. I literally woke up and wrote this episode this morning. I woke up, I took a shower, and I got out at 11, and I just wrote this entire episode. Now,
Dang.
it helps when you have somebody like you on who will do a lot of talking for you so
Mhm.
that you can continue to be lazy on your own end, but don't, just do it because you got a lot of great opinions and takes on things that people need to hear.
Thank you.
So do it. Why not? You got
I'll
nothing to
try it. I'll
lose.
try it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words.
And yeah, and again, seriously, thank you for coming on. Now I've had K-Bot on twice, so that means you got to be on at least 3 times, or else you're
Yeah,
gonna get a
I
little
can't
bit
lose to
jealous. I'm
K-Bot.
assuming.
Yeah, I can't lose to K-Bot. We have a rivalry going on Twitter. I can't lose to this guy, so
Well,
I'm definitely down if you need me.
well, I mean he's taken, and I think you're more
Yeah.
jealous about that. And
You've seen that? Oh God.
Carrot's one of my best friends. Of course, she mods this thing. I'm sure.
Carrot.
I mean, she does. She doesn't see you as a threat. I know that.
What? Okay, no. Okay, that's messed up. I knew K-Bot first, which is like probably the worst thing of all. Like I don't know. It's not right. That's what I'm saying. Like
All
it's
right,
messed up.
get out of here. I've had enough of this. And that
Thank
was
you for having me.
hey, thank
Take
you
it
for
easy.
coming on. That was Shak, member of FT Win, officially captain. I don't know. I don't know who their captain is. I think it would be Shak, but I didn't want to introduce him as captain if it wasn't an official thing. It was a good chat. I like I was excited about this episode to bring in Shaq because Shaq had a lot of really good takes on a lot of things, and said a lot of things that I found interesting. One of the biggest things I've always thought was, well, high level's not going to come out for a tournament if there's no prize because that's been the trend. But one of the things you kind of mentioned there about how as long as the tournament has a high production quality and is something a lot of eyeballs are going to be on and a lot of people are going to be excited about, even if there is no prize, they're going to be interested in playing in. And that kind of makes sense. That's kind of what Squidboards was, right? Squidboards had what they had like Young Squad and Jackpot sign up for that. There was no prize for that. So maybe there is a little bit something there that I found interesting, obviously, and honestly wasn't really thinking about. So a lot of good takes there. It was a really good chat with Shak. We got a few more topics to kind of go over today. So we'll just kind of mosey on down the list. We'll knock this out, and then we'll call it an episode. How's that sound? It's time now for the weekly recap. Midpoint announced that they were going to have a big announcement this past Sunday. They announced it several weeks in advance. It was going to be something really spectacular. The announcement that they came out with, draft internal cup is going to be taking place, a monthly Midpoint exclusive event. I'm assuming just for members that are in Midpoint. A Midpoint Combo Cup, which appears to be kind of a variant of the Girls Duo Cup. You sign up with another individual and you play in a bi-monthly event for Divs 2 through 4 only. So it seems like there might be a skill floor, or at least that's what some people were hinting at. And also some other minor changes within their server, including some of the top players that get results over the course of the week or of the month, or top votes or something like that. They're promising a suggestion in the +3 for some of their top players, which I found interesting. Now, who do we thank for all of these adjustments that Midpoint is coming out with? Ink Odyssey. Congratulations, Ink Odyssey, for kicking Midpoint in the butt and getting them to do something. The fact that they announced all of this the same day that Ink Odyssey was coming out is clearly the flashpoint that got Midpoint thinking, oh, we should actually try to do some more stuff. So congratulations, Ink Odyssey. Capitalism gets things going, and this is good. I like the fact that Midpoint is growing and trying to do stuff to help the mid-level scene. Can Midpoint and Ink Odyssey coexist at the same time? That's the story we're going to be following over the course of the year. But don't think for a second that if Ink Odyssey wasn't a thing, that Midpoint would be announcing anything on yesterday. It's clearly not the case. SOS number 54 took place last Wednesday, won by Krakens, the Australian team, 4-2 over Friends. Summit taking third place over Beans. Hammerhead won by Sirius. Mako Bracket won by Bad Luck Trout over Sonaria, and Lantern Bracket was won by Acropora over Dark Rain. 33 teams signed up for this one. That means one team didn't make it in, and we had to have a drop, so be it. But still, I like the fact SOS was having less registrations during Ludi, but now that Ludi's over, they're back to hitting that limit and having to close registration because too many teams are signing up. I thought it was just going to be because of school that they were getting those numbers last time, but no, last week was a school week and they were still hitting that cap registration. The scene's not dying. People are just busy playing Ludi, and now Ludi's starting to wind down for teams. They're looking for something else to do. Mystic and Will number 2 took place on Thursday. It was won by Jackpot. Second place went to a team, I believe that was a Snow Cone emote that I was looking at there, in Astral taking third place, so I'm just going to call that team Snow Cone. Jackpot actually lost in a best of 3 set to Snow Cone before Snow Cone coming back and 3-0ing them in Grands and 3-0ing them in the bracket reset there. This is interesting. I said this. I said if you were to play Starburst in Ludi, that if it was a best of 3, somebody could beat them. If it was a best of 5, it's possible to beat them. In a best of 9, you can't beat Starburst in 5. You can't beat Starburst 5 straight times. It's just not going to happen. However, in a tournament like this with a best of 3, you can definitely beat a Jackpot. Which No Cone was able to do, but Jackpot was able to come back and beat them there. 11 teams registered. The first place prize for this tournament was $40, a stick figure drawing by Mystic, and a picture of a chicken in pants. So there you go. Getting a little bit creative with the prize there. And if you won that picture of the pants, of a chicken in the pants, I don't think you show that to anybody. I think you just keep that. I mean, that was for your eyes only. So I'm pretty sure you just keep that there. That's your trophy. Ludi recap some of the best matches from the past Ludi week, round 1 of playoffs. And by the way, I keep hinting at this, but I eventually will do like a Ludi recap episode at the end of all of this stuff. Div 9. This is actually kind of a shocker here. Div 9. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat Maxaria 5-4. That's an actual good team that they played against. A team that's banned from Low Inc. and the Turtles beat them. Are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles going to be banned from Low Inc? Are they too good for it? Div 7, Squid Killers getting a 5-4 win over the Tinta Strip Cocktails. Div 4, Fruit Gummy getting a 5-3 win over the Wipeout Punks. I did stream Div 6 Legato over Outcast Ninjas. It was a 5-0, but it was a really, really competitive 5-0. The Fruit Gummy and Wipeout Punk match was another one I would stream, but it was at the same exact time. I really enjoyed streaming those matches. Just doing like solo commentary. It was more of a chill thing, but I really enjoyed doing it. I'm going to try to do some more of those if I have time. So if there's anybody doing a Ludi playoff set and you need someone to stream it, I mean, there's several people to do it, but reach out to me. I'm really interested in doing that. Chiefs beat the Broncos and will play the Steelers on Sunday. The Rams lost to the 49ers, but it doesn't really matter because the Cardinals lost as well. So they play on Monday against each other. Since when do we have NFL playoff games on a Monday? I mean, I know we have, like, they added more teams, so it's going to be more weird to do something like that. But interesting. Fair enough. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by you, the listener. You guys have never sponsored the weekly recap, have you? There might have been an episode where you guys sponsored it. We're going to give it to you guys again today because I don't have a sponsor ready and raring to go. I guess we could say we're sponsored by Reddit, but they might actually hear this and send me like a cease and desist or something like that. So you guys get to sponsor the weekly recap today. Thank you. Phil Stan, I see you in chat, and I'll say this again. If Midpoint would like to come onto the podcast at any point, feel free to reach out to me. I would give you guys a list of questions ahead of time. It'd be something. It wouldn't be any kind of like gotcha kind of situation. Like we work out the conversation beforehand. But I had Ink Odyssey on last week, and obviously I would love to have you guys on as well. Ink Odyssey reached out to me. If you guys wanted to be on, I'm totally offering that to you guys. But I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you would. I just want to at least extend the invitation. Let's talk about the Reddit tournament. We kind of mentioned it a little bit before with Shak, and we'll talk about it a little bit today. Because there's something I've been talking about pretty consistently here on the podcast, is that we need to do more to reach out and connect to the casual scene if we want to grow the competitive scene as a whole. Well, this Reddit tournament, the splat off into the new year, this was the casual scene trying to make a connection to us. They made the first step. It took us a while. We thought going to TikTok was the solution. No, they want to do some stuff too, and they came forward to us. Could you consider this a major? I mean, it was a one-day tournament that had the monster team sign up for it, a major prize pool. I think you could consider this to be like a minor and major. Majors don't have to be a 2-day ordeal, in my opinion. As long as there's big-name teams signing up for it, there's a big prize, and there's something going on that draws a lot of eyeballs to it. In my opinion, that counts as a major. feel free to disagree, but it's still something a lot of people were talking about regardless. A one-day competitive event on Sunday, a casual tournament on Saturday. Yes. Now, if you want to compare this tournament to any other tournaments that is traditionally run by Dapple Productions or IPL or Deep Sea Solutions or Little Squid League or Ludi or something like that, yes, there's a lot of problems here. I understand that. I was sitting there commentating it with a lot of things in my mind. I've already given my feedback, and a lot of the other commentators did as well. And I'm sure plenty of the players gave their feedback. In the feedback channel, I saw a lot of you still biatching on Twitter. Like, bro, nobody can see that. If you want a tournament to improve, go to their Discord and tell them. Just sitting there on Twitter and being like, this sucks. Okay, cool. That's not going to help anything, though. Then again, if they don't have a feedback channel, maybe there's no hope for that. I don't know. I haven't actually looked. Regardless, look, this wasn't their first tournament. I think it was their second tournament. They did one like last year. I remember my first time doing competitive tournament stuff. I did a tournament, Casual Fridays. It was my first time here's my first experience doing Casual Fridays. I was streaming and I was commentating, and that was my first 2 times doing any of those things. And at one point, the head TO for that tournament just disappeared, and I was the only person there who had access to like the staff channel to answer questions help desk. So I just had to somebody was in help desk with a question that was stalling up the tournament. So I just kind of had to pull an answer out of my butt and try to make something happen there. It was a total crap show. But it got through it, and now I'm in IPL, and I learned how to be an actual TO and commentator, and I don't have to stream anymore, so it's good. But you have to have your first tournament somewhere. You have to make mistakes somewhere and grow. Now, we try at IPL, we try to bring in new people to the scene, new people that are new to TOing, and teach them so that they don't have to make mistakes running their own tournaments first. We can kind of show them what mistakes we've made in the past and how help them kind of grow. But I'm not here to talk about everything that went wrong in that Reddit tournament. Instead, I want to talk about everything that they got right. It's a lot of questions we've been having, a lot of conversations we've been having in the competitive scene in the past couple of weeks. Reddit just did and proved can be done effectively. And I want to point some of them out. First off, the casual brackets. This took place on Saturday. I don't know if a lot of you paid attention to it or not. I skimmed through the VOD, and a lot of people in the chat were names I didn't recognize. So I'm assuming most of us didn't watch the casual bracket. I didn't either. I had other things to do Saturday. But I went back and I skimmed through it. It was legit casual teams that were playing it. My concern was, some jackass is going to just smurf and go into this thing. But no, there was no prize, so there was no incentive to cheat in this tournament. And you looked at it, the teams that won were actual legit casual teams. They had ranks all over the place. You very rarely saw people with X ranks in those things, and you saw a lot of people with S and A and S plus all over, and it was crazy, and it was cool to see. And it's cool to see because there was this conversation last week. Hoenn Hero tweeted out about not using rank restrictions as far as finding your teams, and I'm not going to get into a deep conversation about that. I think I don't speak for Hoenn, but I think the context of that was more about low-level teams using rank restrictions. For my team personally, if you don't have all X, I'm not really going to talk to you unless you have a lot of results on top of it. But if you're a brand new player and you're not all X, my Div 2 team is not going to talk to you, because to me, that means you're not fully committed to the game yet. Or at least I would like to see you go get results beforehand. But there might be some other Div 2 teams that think differently from that. That's fine. But my point is this: if you're a casual, should you be allowed to do things competitively? Well, the answer is yes, but there's just not really anything for you. Low Ink is not for casual teams. It's just straight up not. You have to be, if you're a casual team playing a low ink, you are going to get served a fast 0-6. You might go 1-5 if you get a bye, but you have to be somewhat. I mean, there are good teams that have been playing in low ink for a long time that are quad X, that are very experienced, that struggle to make gamma bracket. It's a low level tournament, but low level is still strong compared to 99% of the people that play the game. Same thing with Little Squid League. I mean, the teams that win Little Squid League are vying for alpha brackets in low ink. It's you have to still be pretty good at this, but this casual bracket showed that you don't, like, if you create an environment where other people that don't take the game as crazy sweaty as the rest of us do, it can work out and it can be a competitive thing where it's not just one team curb stomping the other. I've always been hesitant to suggest even creating a casual tournament because there's a lot of, it feels like it's hard to pull off something like that. Okay, so like you can only have one X rank or something like that, right? Like you can't have more than 2 X ranks to be let in. Okay, well then how are you going to keep people from just smurfing? Like technically by that rule, couldn't Legend play in? Like Legend's level like 32, right? So technically, this person's allowed below the skill limit or something like that, right? Or doesn't Bandit have like C- and Clan Blitz? Like Bandit just doesn't play Clan Blitz in general, but that's like a Div 1 skill level charger player, So there's always the little technicalities, and a lot of people try to find the workaround. But what I've noticed from the casual thing here is that at least, there's always going to be jackasses, but I think most people respected that this wasn't a tournament for them. If you're a competitive team, you realize this isn't something for me. And if we want to help the scene grow and get more people interested in competitive, that a tournament like that is viable. And that's what Reddit showed us, is that you can actually do something like that. That changes my mind. And I think that's pretty significant, and Reddit should deserve some credit for that. Number 2, the counter pick system. I tried to look up the exact rules on this. I couldn't find it, but it's a little bit different from the counter picks that you traditionally see in a tournament. Traditionally, if you just lose a set, or you just lose the game, then you just get to pick what the next map and mode is. This time around, it was a little bit different. It was closer to how like Smash Brothers do their tournaments. It was like the other team got, I think the mode was kind of determined, and one team got to eliminate some maps. Like you can't pick this one, you can't pick this one. But so it was more of like a collab between the two teams to figure out what the next map is going to be, rather than just, we win. I guess there's not really much of a problem with the format we have, but I've always kind of said this whenever I'm commentating. If you win game 1 in a counter pick system, you have a crazy advantage over the rest of the set, because all you got to do is win on your specific counter picks and you win the set. It doesn't matter if you lose on the other team's counter picks. As long as you win yours, you're good. And having a little bit less control over what your counter picks does make things a little bit more balanced in a sense. Now, what they used in that tournament was a bot to make the conversation go smoother, because that's the issue, right? With low ink, it's frustrating enough as it is getting the opponent to just say the doggone map and mode, and then you got to check to make sure the map and mode they said is actually legal, because you get a lot of illegal picks in low ink. And it's an extra layer of strategy that I would never implement in low ink, because there's still some teams in low ink that don't like the counter pick. I think the vast majority do, but there's still some teams that don't like the counter pick in general, just because it adds an extra layer of strategy. And what Reddit did was an even more layer of depth of strategy. And I like that they tried it, and I think it might have worked. I didn't play in it, so I didn't know like how it actually worked, but I would be curious to see if that was something that people really enjoyed. And again, doing it online, it's going to slow things down. I would rather see this kind of counter pick system at a LAN, where you can just have a TO right there being like, hey, you have a minute. What mode are you going to pick? Okay, you have a minute. or 30 seconds. What map are you eliminating? Okay, these are the maps they eliminated. You get to pick the map. Go. It's a lot easier when you have somebody right there instead of just trying to like figure it all out online. But still, I think they deserve credit for trying something unique and different. And at least from my perspective, I think it worked, and I think it was kind of interesting. Number 3, they had actual good matches. And this further supports my theory. It doesn't matter what the tournament is. Battle of the Brushes, Launch Day, Shopping Spree, Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer 2. If it has money, you are going to have some quality teams sign up for it, and quality teams signed up for this tournament. You had Jackpot versus Kings, which almost would have been a contender for match of the year at the end of this year if it wasn't for the DC issues. And there's something I want to point out real quick with this. Yes, this is the first time Kings has lost since Starburst beat them in Super Jump, even though Kings came back and beat them twice in the bracket reset to win the whole tournament. But it's the first time they actually lost since then. And yes, can you say that Jackpot won because of the disconnects? Yes, you can say that. Can you say with 100% certainty that if there wasn't a disconnect, that Kings would have won? You can't. You can't flat out say that. You can predict that that's what would have happened, but you can't change what reality does. And that's kind of the frustrating thing, like the letdown, because Jackpot was hanging with them. And that's something that was a theme all day long with Kings, because Kings had always been seen as this untouchable force that was just going to come in and rob all our money of every tournament and fly off into the night. No, Polar Knight took him to a game 5. Jackpot, you can say they took him to a game 4, 1-2 before the disconnect started to happen. Friends took him to a game 5. Like the Kings, even without the DC issues, was looking more vulnerable than we've ever seen them before. And this wasn't a gimmick tournament. There was no crazy, oh, you got to counterpick Turf War or you are obviously going to use nothing but missiles. Like, they looked vulnerable, and I think that's kind of a good thing that adds a little bit more parity across the board. That's what we kind of got out of that set. Cows versus Jackpot. That was great. That was really great. It looked like it was, I mean, Shak kind of mentioned the game 6 was a curb stomp, but all those other games were really back and forth. It looked like Q's Charger was causing a huge issue for all of those members on Cows. It seemed like they didn't have an answer to it until they were like, oh yeah, we can just use VJet and just missile spam and it works. But it was still a really competitive set, and there was a lot of parity. The days of FT Win just coming in and stomping everybody are gone. The days of King just coming in and stomping everybody seem to be gone as well. And that's really great. So all of these elements combine into a tournament run by people who don't traditionally run tournaments, that are coming from the casual scene. This is a massive win. If this tournament, if they take all the feedback they have, which I'm sure they got a ton of feedback, in like going forward, if like the stream needs some touch ups, some of the rules might need to be tweaked here or there or something like that. They need a better Discord. I think somebody tweeted out they didn't have a help desk. This needs to be on Battlefy. Like these simple suggestions that could be made towards them. If they took all that into account, you got a damn good tournament here. And all of a sudden, it's not, oh, when is IPL going to make the next high-level tournament? When I open up my wallet, I guess. But it's going to be something else that kind of takes pressure off of IPL. Super Jump 2, well, here's this Reddit tournament that's a great buffer between now and Super Jump 2. That's why I was excited about the Reddit tournament. Were there issues? Of course. Of course there were going to be issues. I knew before it even started there were going to be massive issues. It's still a huge dub, though. And I was glad this tournament kind of took place. And the Reddit team deserves a lot of credit for that. That being said, let's wrap this up. We're going to end this here. Good episode. Thank you again for Shak for coming in. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, Feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at Popgun25, Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube's at 25 Popgun, Anchor.fm /Popgun. I should post more TikTok stuff, I guess. TikTok at Mr_Popgun, I guess. There's too much nonsense in here. Maybe Shaq's right. Maybe it is too much work running a podcast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week recapping LSL. Probably SAC as well. So we'll do a lot more tournament recaps than we did this time around. And enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Kiver. Make sure you guys get vaccinated. Make sure you're wearing your mask. And keep an eye on things at low tide.